No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, where we can promise you that spirits will be high here at the very least, because even though we just watched a very dispiriting Winnipeg Jets performance where they lose yet again on home ice, 4-1 to the New York Rangers, and the coffin is, if it's not completely shut on their playoff chances, it's definitely 98% of the way there, and tonight didn't do anything to change anyone's minds.
I guess we're going to have to start calling you Paul Bearer, Drew.
You can start calling me Paul Bearer, exactly. You can be the Undertaker, and I'll be Paul Bearer. With Dave Manouk and with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your Mandel. Gentlemen, I'd say the best thing about tonight's game was that it ended quickly. It ended, it was a pretty fast game. It's only now 8:30, so I can go to bed after we do the post-game show at a very reasonable hour for a Sunday night, and that is my silver lining of tonight's Winnipeg Jets defeat, because there's not a lot there that you can hang your hat on. There's not a lot there that tells you that this team is anything really but a bottom-of-the-pack team in the NHL this season. Just another poor performance, another defeat on home ice. There's not much more I can really think about to say about it, aside from New York took advantage of their opportunities and the Jets yet again failed to do so.
I just want to jump in quickly to make this point. It was the third straight game the Jets almost gave up a hat trick. I mean, that's honestly, someone asked me, they said, "Has that ever happened before?" I'm like, I don't even remember 2 straight games the Jets giving up a hat trick, let alone 3. I can't imagine, and then I'm sure maybe someone will remember, but I mean, I just don't ever remember that happening in the NHL, where a team that considers itself to be something is doing that. I mean, I'm sorry. And Jason Robertson's been really good. He had another hat trick tonight. In Minnesota. So I mean, I'm not the players who are getting it. Josh Anderson, Chris Kreider. They're not bad players. So those are guys who can score and put the puck in the back of the net. But to give up, in 3 straight games, almost 3 goals per guy, I mean, that's a pretty shocking thing.
It must be nice to play against the Jets if you're an opponent, or at least certainly here in Winnipeg. You come into town, you come to the arena, you play the Jets. You don't really have to worry about getting beat up or anything. You don't really have to worry about the Jets, fighting through adversity against you. It's a relaxing couple hours skate for a lot of these teams. That was another, look.
I thought you were talking about walking down Portage Avenue before the game. I didn't realize that you were talking about the actual game itself, Drew. But
it's just so easy to play against them. I mean, the New York Rangers did not play what I would describe as a good game. I didn't think the Rangers were anything to write home about.
Do you remember in 2017-18 when the Jets won a lot of games because they had an amazing goaltender?
Yeah.
That's happening for New York right now. I mean, Shesterkin is, there's a reason why he's the top goaltender in the league.
Yeah, he's a great goaltender. There's no question about it. But, the New York Rangers scored on, I think, every opportunity they had. I mean, it's not like they were, they had a ton of opportunities. I mean, how many shots did they finish the game with tonight?
45, I think.
No, the Jets. I'm talking about the Rangers.
21 or 22 or something.
22 shots. 22 shots.
This was a game in which, if you looked, I told you guys this right before we came on, it looked like, the Jets, I should say, not the Jots. That's a different team. But, I mean, you would think that, the Jets badly outplayed the Rangers. And don't get me wrong. I mean, they had some pressure. I mean, this was fairly back and forth, guys. I mean, I think you even heard Adam Lowry say that to Sarah during the intermission, right? So, I mean, this was a game in which obviously, the Jets needed that power play goal in the second period, right? And Nick Ehlers, continues to look like he hasn't missed a beat, right? But I mean, to me, watching that game, I thought to myself, you got to score here on this power play. So give the second unit credit, right? Because, they started that power play because it was Blake Wheeler that drew the penalty, right? So, I mean, give that second power play unit credit, but yeah, just not enough offense. And, Chris Kreider, guys, we talked about him on yesterday's show. I mean, This is a guy who is competing for a Rocket Richard trophy right now. So nobody should be surprised. And, look at, I think on the first goal, Nate Schmidt loses his man a little bit there, and Barclay Goodrow, right? Like, give Jacob Trouba credit, right? Like, he's back in Winnipeg. He wants to put on a good show. Say whatever you want, but when a guy returns to the city, Dave's talked about this before. These guys want to have a good game. I'm not saying that, Trouba wants to stick it to the Jets, because he's still got friends on the team. It's not like all of a sudden, I
don't think there's any animosity.
No, there's no animosity, but he wants to put on a good performance. He wants to do whatever he can do to help his team win. But that goal that Chris Kreider scores, the game winner, is what I'm talking about in the third period. I know you want to, go goal by goal, Drew, but that's just a really skilled play. First off, is Abinajad, just a nice bank pass. But to me, like, this was just a more skilled team that is playing at a higher level. And I agree, the Jets pretty badly outshot them, even though the high danger chances just checked were only 7-5. I wasn't following it during the game. So that just tells you, right? Like, not a lot of those shots on the power play, not a lot of traffic in front. Like, obviously, on Nikolai Ehlers' goal, Adam Lowry was in front. You had Paul Stastny in there taking away the eyes of Shesterkin. But for the most part, guys, like, shots from the outside, this was not, I think, a game in which the Jets put enough high quality, high danger shots on Shesterkin. As we know, if he sees it, he's going to stop it.
You know what this game reminded me of? It reminded me of the Florida game here in Winnipeg from, when was that? It was in February, maybe a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, where, the Jets were probably, as good, if not better than the Panthers that day. And the Jets were certainly as good, if not better than the Rangers, at times in today's game. But, they just never capitalized. They never really were able to find the gear necessary for a worse team to beat a better team. And so eventually the better team says, okay, yeah, fine, we'll score a couple goals and we'll win handily. That was what happened in that Panthers game, if I recall correctly. It was almost tied, halfway through the game or maybe into the third period. And then the Panthers are like, okay, fine, we'll just win the game. And the Rangers, it's 2-1. It's 2-1 after 40 minutes. And the Jets are allegedly applying pressure, and they have some power play opportunities throughout the course of the game. And then, of course, they can't capitalize. So the Rangers are like, okay, fine, we'll score a goal. We have one chance. We'll score a goal. Boom, 3-1. And when it was 3-1, you're not getting 4 past Shesterkin. It was hard. You're going to be hard pressed to get 3 past Shesterkin when you were down 2-0. It's just, this Jets team is, they are what they are, and it's a bad hockey team. You can look at whatever else they want to, smoke. They want to blow up their ass, their ass when they're interviewed, by Pierre LeBrun and not asked any hard questions at all. Whatever, Chevy can say whatever he wants. The coaching staff can say whatever they want. The owner, if he ever talks, could say whatever he wants. They're just not a very good hockey team. They've built a flawed hockey team. And is it a flawed hockey team that can be fixed with a new coach? Well, I don't know. Maybe. I look at Bruce Boudreau and what he's doing in Vancouver, and you can't help but, every time the Vancouver Canucks win, I can't help but say, if only. If only. If only. Instead, the coaching change happens here for whatever reason, and you can say Maurice quit. You can say he wasn't going to be fired. Whatever. That's what Jeff said on the Saturday show yesterday. Whatever it might be. Who do they promote? They promote a guy clearly who's over his head. Dave Lowry, is a great hockey player. Not an NHL head coach. He's not an NHL quality head coach. Nothing you've seen from him so far in his stint as interim Jets head coach would say that's a guy who's got an idea or a plan or a strategy or an approach to change this team's fortunes. That's what you have. You just got an organization that is all too happy right now, in my mind, to just play out the next 26 games, which they seem to have been happy to do since the middle of December. Just play out the string on the year and maybe see if they can fix something in the off season. There's just, there's no wonder there's boo birds out in the arena tonight, Dave M.
Yeah, I was quite the soliloquy there, Drew. So I'm not sure where you want me to pick up from. But...
Sorry, that just came out of nowhere. I wasn't really planning on being particularly fired up or anything, but it just sort of happened.
Well, look, it was an interesting game, right? I mean, if you looked at the shots, you would say the Jets had control of the puck for a variety, for the majority of the time. I mean, Ezzy's talked about the quality of those chances that the Jets were getting and whether they were really generating. I mean, if you really look at it, the Ehlers goal with Lowry in front, I mean, how many times did we see that from this Winnipeg club? Something we've talked about, how many times before, that you need to take away the eyes of the goaltender, especially a guy like Shesterkin. I mean, if you read, Drew, I think you referenced it on Saturday. I mean, if you read Larry Brooks's column, I mean, the Rangers haven't been playing very well, but they're winning. Why are they winning? Because their goaltender is playing with like a 970 save percentage. I mean, he's been out of his mind, right? I mean, he was 980 today? Like, I mean, it was some ridiculous number. So, I mean, his play has been incredible. I mean, he wasn't forced to make too many saves, but the ones he needed to make to keep his team ahead, that's what he was able to do. So, look, the Jets aren't inspiring anyone right now, and that's a problem, right? The fans are bored. You can hear it. Like, I mean, whether you're in the building or watching on television, there's just no excitement, and that's incumbent on the team. It's incumbent on the organization to put on something, like do something to get the folks engaged, because right now they're not. Right now, people are mad. They're angry. I mean, how long are we going to hear about the plan? Murat was writing about, the plan A, plan B, and plan C. But like, at what point, your fan base is too aware of what's doing. You're not dealing with a fan base that doesn't have any clue as to what's going on. And the reality is, I mean, this is not an insignificant amount of money to go see a hockey game. I've talked about this. You're entertained. This is sports are entertainment, or supposed to be, right? There wasn't that much entertaining about that game, quite frankly. But the truth is, folks want to be entertained. If they're spending $300, $400, $500 to go to a hockey game, or $100, whatever they pay for the tickets, they want to be entertained. And right now, it's just not happening. And so you're hearing the apathy, and you're seeing, comments. I mean, it's funny how many people have said in the chat, "Oh, we're just here to support you guys because we're fed up." So
we appreciate that. We appreciate the love from everybody.
Yeah.
Even as the season is going to wind down and it's going to be some dregs of hockey games, come back and be with your Illegal Curve family. We'll have a bonding session. It'll be fun.
Don't abandon us.
Exactly. We'll have fun together through the next 26 games. We promise.
Oh, we'll absolutely have fun. And I agree 100% with what Dave just said. And I think, you mentioned entertainment, and yeah, I mean, fans can still be entertained in a losing effort, but the reality is that the expectations for this team were much different than they were last year, right? And 2 years ago, Dave, when you bring in Nate Schmidt and you bring in Brendan Dillon and you give up draft picks and you reinforce your top four defensemen, I mean, there were higher expectations for this team to be in a much better position than they are now. Not every Jets fan thought, the Stanley Cup was a lock, but I think most Jets fans thought at the very least the playoffs were a lock. And you look at Dallas, right? Like, they beat the Wild tonight, even though the Wild scored 2 goals in, I think, the span of a minute and 20, and they made it interesting there. And then Jamie Benn scored an empty net goal. So, Dallas moved a couple more points ahead of the Jets. And that's the team right now that you're chasing, right? Like, it's kind of weird. You're kind of chasing Minnesota as well, just because Minnesota, it's really weird. They've just really gone into this funk. And they're losing a lot of 1-goal games. So the reality is it's going to be very difficult for the Jets to catch either of those two teams. I mean, we talked about it. On that road trip, I thought you had to win 3 of 4 for it to be successful, just considering where you are in the standings. And then because you lost 3 of 4, right? So it was the inverse. I thought you had to win all 4 of these games for this to really be a homestand. And that could be a seminal moment. I know you like that word, Drew. And part of that would be beating the Rangers and beating the Lightning, right? And, this game was, there for the taking. Drew just mentioned it, similar to the Florida game. This wasn't like, New York was firing on all cylinders, peppering Hellebuck, and Hellebuck had to be awesome and everything like that. Like, the Rangers were giving the Jets every opportunity on the power play, right? Yeah. And the first, Ehlers scored, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on the 4th Jets power play. The first 3 power plays, they weren't awful, but, way too much, trying to go for these perfect passes. I mean, not enough traffic, like, again, we talked about, Blake Wheeler, he was trying to do his best, but I just didn't think, it was effective. So the first power play unit, I didn't think was terrific. And this was a game in which, when as you mentioned, Dave, if Shesterkin gives up a couple goals, I mean, you're doing better than most other teams in the NHL. Right. So when the Jets went down 2-0, you knew, I mean, it was going to be very tough for them to come back, but it was still a 1-goal game. And then obviously, you know, the Rangers' best players, you know, Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad. Zibanejad, to me, is one of the most underrated players in the league. He's a really good player. So, I mean, this is just a skilled team, as Drew mentioned, taking, you know, advantage of their opportunities, and the Jets just not elevating their game to a high enough level against, you know, one of the top teams. Based on points percentage, boys, this is the 5th best team in the NHL. Like, I think the Rangers are absolutely a Stanley Cup contender. So, I mean, this wasn't the final nail in the coffin, but this was just another wasted opportunity for the Jets.
You're exactly right. Let's get into the goals in tonight's game. The game recap is brought to you by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. The Jets come out like a house on fire. Oh, no, they don't. The Rangers score 2 minutes and 1 second into the game, and you're already saying, uh-oh. Barclay Goodrow gets his 12th of the year assist to Trouba and Chittle on this one, and it's just a blown coverage in front, and the puck, you know, a fortuitous bounce, you know, in this instance, but, you know, you need to have better coverage on Barclay Goodrow there by, I think, combination of sort of Dubois and Nate Schmidt were in his vicinity, and nobody gets their stick on him, and he just tips it past Hellbuck, and it's 1-0 before people have a chance to take their first sip of a beer in tonight's contest.
Yeah, and, you know, we talked about it earlier. I mean, Barclay Goodrow, you know, everybody knows he was a big part of the Lightning team that won the Stanley Cup. But yeah, I mean, this was, you know, there was a kind of broken odd man rush. Jacob Trouba just kind of blows past Kyle Connor and just makes a nice pass to Barclay Goodrow. And, you know, Nate Schmidt was a little bit out of position and he just doesn't tie him up. So, I mean, that's just a hardworking goal as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, a bit of a lucky bounce, you know, fortuitous bounce there. But, you know, credit to Trouba. We know from his days with the Jets, he's offensively inclined. And Barclay Goodrow's a good, you know, good role player. So, yeah, obviously not the start you want to get off to. But, you know, going back to what we said before, the first period wasn't terrible. I mean, the Jets, I thought, found their legs and, you know, they had some sustained pressure. Just the shots were not of the dangerous variety. So, overall, it wasn't a terrible period. But we know that it continued and they found themselves down a couple of goals, even though the Rangers weren't playing that well.
Yeah, and we talked about the power play. The Jets had, you know, power play opportunities in the first period, Dave M. You know, Lindgren takes a penalty at the 3:59 mark. Jets have an opportunity early on to if they can get a power play goal there, boom, all of a sudden it's a 1-all game. They clearly don't. And Chittle takes another penalty or takes a second Rangers penalty, not another one for him. But that comes at 11:58 of the first period. The Jets have another opportunity. Boom, nothing. And, you know, Shesterkin made a really nice save on Pierre-Luc Dubois. You know, most goalies maybe don't make that save. Well, you're not playing most goalies tonight. He was what he's advertised as. I mean, Dave M., I remember you and I were at that game a couple years ago when Lundqvist was still playing for the Rangers and Shesterkin was their backup. And he came in and the Rangers won here in Winnipeg. This is when the Jets were still good a few years ago. And we both looked at each other and said, can you imagine going from Lundqvist to Shesterkin? Because he looked like the goalie for the next 15 years.
It's seamless.
Yeah, it's seamless. I mean, he is exactly what, you know, I remember that game vividly, just watching him in front of us. And he was the same. He's the same goalie that he was before. Yeah, he was then and he is now. He's even better now, probably.
No, you're right, Drew. And I do remember that. I was actually thinking about that tonight while I was watching the game, because you can't help but realize like how fortunate this Rangers club is to have gone from Henrik Lundqvist to Igor Shesterkin. I mean, this guy is going to be, as you just said, he could be their goalie for the next 15 years. He's phenomenal. And so, you know, and one of the things that Dave Lowry spoke about is when he was asked about his team's game. I don't remember, to be honest with you, when it was specifically. It was in the last week. But he talked about how the mistakes are burning them. You know, overall, they like their game, but the mistakes are burning them. And think about that first goal, just to go back to that quickly. What happens? Logan Stanley gets caught up in the play, and it leads to an odd man rush. Now, the Jets don't get burnt on that odd man rush, but it throws everybody off because now everybody is scrambling. They're trying to support. And so as a result, you know, you just, again, they don't burn them on the 2-on-1 opportunity, but shortly thereafter, you know, they get that goal, and that goal is a killer, knowing how important it is. I mean, first of all, it's 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
So you can't even get your fans into that contest yet. And then you're up, like, I mean, from a Jets perspective, you don't have it right now, really. And you're going up against the guy who's doesn't give up any goals. Really. He hasn't given up any goals this year. So to already be down 1-0, you're thinking to yourself, we can't give up another goal. And if we do, like, it's basically over. So, you're really putting yourself behind the 8 ball in that regard. And I just thought it's a tough situation for the Jets, because right off the hop, in a game that's absolutely critical for them, they make a mistake 2 minutes in that ends up in the back of the net.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, well put. You're already, you're immediately playing with one hand tied behind your back, and you're trying to play catch up for the rest of the game. And it's just giving the other team just, a life immediately. Just giving them, hey, look, we're already up. We're already playing against a team that's not as good as us. Now we got a lead on them, and we can just play our game and sort of, not have to not treat them with respect. That's not fair, but just don't have to worry as much as if the game was tied, a few minutes in, or 10 minutes in, or whatever. The Rangers make it 2-0. Chris Kreider. Sometimes the puck follows you when you're a good goal scorer. Chris Kreider this year has been an exceptional goal scorer. His 37th of the year, assist to Panarin and Adam Fox, and it's another fortuitous bounce. It's on the power play. Adam Lowry gets his stick on the pass, and it just deflects right to Kreider, and he just goes boop and sort of shakes off Dylan DeMello a little bit, and it's 2-0 for the Rangers in a blink of an eye, Izzy.
Yeah, and we talked about how much talent there is on this team, and this power play goal almost looked too easy. Like, Artemi Panarin just does an unbelievable job, moving around and basically having multiple options. And when you talk about some of the dangerous players on this team, like Chris Kreider is obviously one that stands out to them, but this was a goal in which I just thought, it was Chris Kreider knows how to establish position in front of the net. And that's just what happened there. And he's a tough guy to move, right? Like, you don't think of him necessarily as being the biggest player, but he's a big man. And so, that was a pretty straightforward goal. But again, Logan Stanley, they, you saw Dave Lowry mix up the pairs there a little bit, right? You saw Logan Stanley, I think, have a few shifts off. But I mean, that was a goal, I think, where, Hellebuck didn't have a lot of chance. And that was just, a lot of talented players on the ice just doing what they do.
Yeah, and they did it very well, and it was 2-0 for the. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, I'm not one to lament penalty calls, but I actually didn't agree with that penalty call. I mean, Logan Stanley's a big guy, and I just
was weak.
I
thought the same thing. Yeah.
I was watching it. I jokingly tweeted it from the Illegal Curve account. I said, "You got a penalty for too much man," because really, he's just a big guy who cleared.
We get that penalty all the time on this show.
He was just clearing the front of the net.
Yeah, he cleared. Right? And to be honest with you, he didn't even do it with, like, it wasn't like it was a cross check. He just moved the I mean,
cross-checking is legal now. We learned that on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't care if the Jets get a penalty that's legitimate. Like, I don't really care. It's the whatever. But I'm sorry, like that. What is a defenseman allowed to do? I mean, realistically, I mean, he moved him away from the front of the net. I don't like the penalty call. I just think it's just again, is that we've talked about the refs for some time now. But I mean, and it's a killer, right? Because now you're down 2-0 against a team that doesn't give up any goals. So it really puts you in a hole. Now, look, the Jets
also made it a very, very brief 5-on-3, right?
Well, and I guess what the point I'm trying to make is that, like, the Jets still needed to take advantage when they had power plays, and they didn't. But the truth is that one really did put them behind, because now you've gone from 1-0. You're like, okay, well, it's a bad start to this game. But it's not the end. The Rangers haven't been playing phenomenal. So if you can beat Shesterkin, you could be into this contest. But the difference is now it's 2-0, and you're thinking to yourself, quite frankly, I was like, well, there's almost no chance the Jets come back in this game.
Sorry, Dave, that actually wasn't a 5-on-3. I thought it was
after
the
DeMello penalty.
Yeah.
6 seconds.
The point is there was a penalty just killed off,
That's right.
And then you have to go back to the PK against a really good power play.
Yeah, I mean, you might not like the call, and I don't disagree with you, Dave M, but the Rangers capitalized where the Jets didn't. And so many times this year, the Jets have been given opportunities and have had power play chances, or they've been playing teams that haven't been playing very well, and they haven't been able to take advantage of their opportunities. Meanwhile, every team against the Jets is able to take advantage and is opportunistic. And I don't think it's because the Jets have bad luck. I think it's because the Jets are easy to play against and are relatively easy to score against. Again, that we've seen throughout the course of the year, the Jets giving up way too much, way too soft in their own zone.
Well, I just want to say something though, because, a lot of people are talking about the fact that, the Jets allowed, 4 goals again, or the streak of, 3 goals again. Like, how many of those goals, and I'll ask you guys this because I don't know if any of them were necessarily Connor Hellebuck's fault. Like
the Kreider goal, he looked like a bit of that he didn't know what to do on the Kreider breakaway goal. The third one is and I don't love. I guess
Schmidt didn't play it very well.
Schmidt didn't play it well. There's
but that's tough though, Dave, because Schmidt's got to turn around, right? Like Schmidt's facing the other way. And then you've got a very fast skater in Chris Kreider, right?
Yeah, Rangers played it. The Rangers played it beautifully. Like Kreider it was a great bank pass. And he anticipated where it was going to be. It wasn't an easy play for Schmidt. I just don't like the way that Connor Hellebuck looked like a fish out of water, sprawling forward the way he did.
The poke check attempt is just that's a goalie who's desperate, who doesn't really know how to play that. I mean, that poke check had about as good a chance of working as me being in net trying to save it on Kreider there. I just didn't like any of that sequence there. It's a puck going into a soft spot on the ice. Schmidt is in a difficult position there. We're jumping ahead of the Ehlers goal, which was very nice, and they had traffic in front of Shesterkin. Novel idea, take away the best goalie's eyes and see if good things happen. And it was a great shot from Nicky Ehlers, low. I guess that wouldn't be blocker side. It would have been glove side. Really nice play nice play by the Jets to make it 2-1. Early in the second period, but on the Kreider goal, Schmidt's, he's on his heels and he's going against a really fast skater in Kreider. Hellebuck, I want to see him be more aggressive there, not with the poke check, because I don't think that's the course of action to take there, but maybe come out and try and play that puck if you can get there, or if you're not going to be able to get there, stand up to Kreider there. Be big. You're a big guy, Hellebuck. So I mean, it doesn't look like a bad goal. It's not like a soft goal like some of the other ones.
It was a beautiful individual effort from Chris Kreider, and obviously we talked about the bank pass from Zibanejad, right? So I mean, that's a skill play from the Rangers, and unfortunately, the Jets just weren't sharp enough defensively. And again, like we've talked a lot about Nate Schmidt. Like Nate Schmidt's a very capable defenseman, but that's just a tough play when you're turning around and the guy has speed on you, and then you have to turn around. It was just it was a goal scorer's goal. And you're right, Drew. I mean, Hellebuck looked very, hesitant, I would say is the word I would use to use the poke check. It's almost like he was like not going to do it, and then he did it, and it was just we know the poke check's all about timing, right? Like it's something that you just have to time perfectly. So I mean, the point I was trying to make is that I just look at this game, and yes, Hellebuck wasn't terrific, but it's not to me, anything to do with Hellebuck's play or anything like that. I don't know. I guess put it this way. I don't think if Eric Comrie was in net, there would have been a different result. I think, what has Hellebuck played 47 games now? Started 47 games. Like this hasn't just been a problem for a week or two. Like we've talked about this many times. He's been overworked for well over a month now, right? Yeah. So whether it's that or not, I just I didn't think he had necessarily a weak game. I just didn't think that the Jets created enough high danger chances. I know that's cliche. They put a lot of rubber on Shesterkin. It just wasn't of the high danger variety. And yeah, I mean, could you say one or two of those goals, like for example the fourth goal, the Trouba goal? I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here.
No, we're not. You're fine. You're onto the Trouba goal now.
But Artemi Panarin, you could argue that maybe should have been a slash on Kyle Connor, Dave. Like Kyle Connor has an opportunity with the puck, to get it out. And, Panarin put some pressure on him, goes back to Trouba, and it looked like to me like it might have changed direction. But obviously it didn't.
It was a very good screen in front.
Well, it was a screen, right? Like, so that's not Hellebuck's fault.
It did change direction. The goal ended up being given to Zibanejad. I think it must have been.
Oh, it did. Okay, I thought it was
recently. Yeah, I thought it was Trouba too. But you can see the puck sort of dip a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I mean, still, it's like the goal. It's like the
game was over by that point, anyways, right? Drew?
So well, certainly the game was over at that point. They were coming back from 3-1 down. But it's like the goal on Friday, the tying goal on Friday that Dallas scored. I think you want to see more fight from Hellebuck on that. You want him to fight through the screen a little bit more. It's not a
heaven forbid has his defenseman clear the front of the net.
Well, that too, or they block the shot or something. I think you just want to see more fight from the entire team in that instance, rather than have that shot, which is, it's a routine point shot, and it's not like the tip was a fantastic tip. I thought it was a pretty basic tip, but you just want to see him.
Are we talking about the Zibanejad goal?
Yeah, the Zibanejad goal.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't even know if he got a stick on it or if it just went off his leg. Like, you're right. I mean,
exactly.
It was a pretty harmless looking point shot with traffic in front that may or may not have, contained a chicken, if you like Seinfeld. But no, I mean, it's kind of same old. Like, this game followed a very similar script to many games that we've seen this year, not in the sense of, the Jets blowing a third period lead, but, just getting beaten by a more skilled team, that looked at times like it was easy for them. Like, it really did. Like, you look at guys like Zibanejad and, Kreider, and, they were relaxed. They were smiling on the bench, talking to the ref at one point. Like, this is a really good team. So we can't take anything away from the Rangers. Like, the Rangers should beat a team like the Jets. Even though the Jets have Ehlers and Kopp back, the Rangers are a better team. They're better in goal. I mean, we haven't even talked about Adam Fox. This is the reigning Norris Trophy winner, right? Like, so, I mean, this is a team that I think could surprise a lot of people in the playoffs. Look at, like, I think, Tampa Bay is still very dangerous. Florida is really good. Pittsburgh, to me, is not getting enough credit, but the Rangers are just as good as most of these teams.
Well, when you have the goaltending that they have, and you have the game breakers that they have in Kreider and Zibanejad and Panarin, and you have the reigning Norris Trophy defenseman, and you have a lot of good bones to your team. So you're absolutely right that they can be they're dangerous threats. Certainly one of a dangerous team in the East, no question about it. The East is so wide open this year. It's just going to be such a dogfight to get out of the East that it should be very entertaining, especially when the Leafs lose in the first round after Jack Campbell gives up another 6 goals a game or something like that. I digress. Sorry, Dave, you're going to say something?
It's going to happen.
I just wanted to jump in and say, like, the one thing that the Jets did right, the only thing really that you could say that you would point to and say this was the formula, was the Ehlers goal, which you're right, we did gloss over. We went to the Kreider goal quickly. We went back a little bit, talked about the Ehlers goal, but, like, that's what you need to do. It was the 150th goal of his career. He moved into sole possession of 4th spot, one ahead of Brian Little. So amazing to think that's on the Jets 2.0 list. But, I mean, first of all, it's a gorgeous goal because it's just a beautiful shot by Ehlers.
Vintage.
And all the credit to Adam Lowry. I mean, that's all we've been talking about this whole year is a man in front. Now, first of all, and it blows your mind because why the second power play unit is not getting more time and not starting more when they have looked far more dangerous, at least of late, obviously with the addition of Nikolai Ehlers, than the first power play unit, which has looked predictable, has looked soft, has tried to thread the needle and made the perfect pass as opposed to just getting something. Like, you're not scoring goals. Again, Connor Hellebuck hasn't been stealing you games. But you can't have an expectation that your goalie is going to steal every single game.
How many goals did the Jets get at 5-on-5 today?
Well, the 5-on-5 play has been bad. I mean, obviously the answer is 0, Drew. But
yeah, I know.
But the 5-on-5, I mean, last game, what did I say?
That was a pretty degrading question, Drew.
Yeah, like the reality is they didn't have a 5-on-5 shot in the first period last game. Now, again, lots of penalties, so that helps. But, I mean, the game is won generally at 5-on-5. And the Jets just haven't been doing enough, especially in this goal scoring. So, like I said, the one positive is you can't just blame this on Connor Hellebuck. I mean, you can't win. You don't win. You don't win very many games 1-0 when it's not in the playoffs. And so the truth is, if you're not scoring, then that's a problem. This Jets team isn't scoring enough. It's great they put up 8 against Montreal. Maybe you need to spread that out a little bit because it's just not going to be sufficient to win these kind of games. And look, when Shesterkin is the goaltender, and you're already behind you're down 1-0 after 2 minutes, you already know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
2-0, like I said, was as far as I'm concerned, the nail in the coffin on this game.
It certainly wasn't. It was going to be a big hill to climb for the Jets. They were unable to climb it. I want to address one thing that I thought. It was Sean Reynolds who I saw mention it on Twitter when it was 4-1. So it's 4-1 for the Rangers, and the game's basically over. It's unlikely the Jets are going to come back. Very unlikely. There's 10 minutes to go in the game, and I think Sean said that it was around about 8 minutes to go. He said in the earlier game today between Dallas and Minnesota, Dallas was up 4-1. With 8 minutes to go, and Dean Evison, Minnesota's coach, pulled their goalie to try and get back in the game. And they did. They scored 2 goals. They got it to 4-3, and then Dallas ended up scoring 2 into the empty net to make it 6-3, but Minnesota got back into the game. So Sean said he was going to watch to see if Dave Lowry would do something different. I think it speaks volumes about Dave Lowry that he chose to pull the goalie when it was 4-1 when there was 2.5 minutes to go in the game. I mean, that's just the mindset, I think, of a coach who doesn't understand what he's really up against. You know, if you pull Hellebuck and you give up a goal with 7 minutes to go and you lose 5-1 instead of 4-1, well, what's the difference? There is no difference. But pulling the goalie when there's 2.5 minutes to go, well, you're not going to score 3 goals in the last 2.5 minutes to come back in the game. You're probably not going to score,
especially on Shesterkin.
On Shesterkin, especially. You're probably not going to score 3 on basically any NHL caliber goalie. You're not going to score 3 goals in the last 2.5 minutes to come back. You know, you're probably not going to come back, pulling that goalie when there's 8 minutes to go in the game. But at least use the time, use the numbers, like understand fully the context of the situation, and then make that move. Pulling him with 2.5 minutes to go doesn't do jack all. But that just is a matter of, like, are you afraid that you're going to give up a 5th goal into an empty net? I just don't understand.
No, because as you mentioned, the 5th goal is irrelevant. I mean, the game's already
irrelevant. The game's over.
Pretty much over already, right? And you're right. I mean, there's a definite
chance.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made, Drew, that he should have pulled Dave Lowry, that is, should have pulled the goalie earlier. Yeah. Maybe.
Well, Doug says at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that's funny, Doug. But if it's not 8 minutes, then 5 minutes left or 6 minutes, whatever. So you give yourself enough runway to actually come back in the game. That's the point you're trying to make, right, Drew? So,
right.
I mean, the Scheifele, Wheeler, Stastny line. I mean, they didn't have it tonight. I mean, this is a game in which you needed more. Connor Dubois, Svechnikov, I thought were fine. Like Dave mentioned it right before the Rangers made it. I think it was right before they made it 2-0, right, Dave? There were all those chances, if I'm not mistaken. There were Dubois had a chance, Connor had a chance, and then Dubois had another. Like Dubois was throwing his weight around. Svechnikov was also throwing his weight around. Something we've talked about. Like Svechnikov is reborn on that line with Dubois and Connor. So the Dubois line was fine. I mean, obviously Lowry, Kopp, and Ehlers, they had a pretty strong game. Maybe didn't generate enough at 5-on-5, but obviously Ehlers scored the power play goal. The 4th line didn't play much, didn't have a huge impact on the game, I thought. So that's just not going to cut it. And especially when you're going up against, this is, we had Marty Biron on the show yesterday, and, we asked him about Shesterkin because obviously Biron played for the Rangers and just knows goaltending in general. Yeah. He happened to play with a pretty good goalie in Hasek as well. Right. So, I mean, Shesterkin has that kind of aura of Hasek, guys. Look, I'm not saying that Shesterkin is Hasek. Like, I'm not going to get too carried away here. But, this is one of the better goalies that we've seen in the NHL in a while, right? And that's why there was so much fanfare for Shesterkin to come over, eventually to North America. But obviously Lundqvist was pretty cemented, as the number 1 goalie there for a while. And this is a guy that, will easily win the Vezina Trophy, and I think should get a lot of consideration for the Hart. So it wasn't that we can go over all aspects of the game, the blown power play opportunities earlier in the game, right? Whether that was in the first period or the second period, just not hard enough on the puck, not physical enough. It wasn't enough to beat a top team in the East. The Rangers are a top team, and the Jets just didn't elevate their game. I know that sounds a little bit simplistic, but that effort it wasn't good enough.
You're right, Ezzy. It certainly wasn't. The Jets drop a 4-1 decision to the New York Rangers. The doldrums continue here in Winnipeg on Tuesday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Doesn't get any easier going from the Rangers to the Lightning. It'll be interesting to see what kind of performance they come out with then, because certainly they know time is quickly evaporating on any playoff hopes this team may have. Let's take a break. When we come back, more on tonight's game. We'll look ahead to Tuesday. I'll read to you what Nikolai Ehlers had to say post-game. Much more to come. Don't go anywhere. Smash the like button. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. We're live on our YouTube channel. Also, Tough Duck 2 giveaway. Stay with us. Lots to come. We're live on YouTube and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Hey boys, finding parking on game day shouldn't take longer than the Minute Minute.
It shouldn't take longer than 1 minute?
Yeah, less than a minute? I spend at least 20 driving around to find street parking, or if I'm in a rush to the game, I'll shovel out 20 at a parkade.
You're both doing it wrong. There's this app called Grid Park. It lets you find and pre-book your parking spot on game days, and you can reserve your spot up to 1 month in advance. And guess how much you'll pay?
Tell me, Dave, you know I love a deal.
Ezzy, $5.
Come on, $5?
Yeah, and it's just 2 blocks from the arena.
The Grid Park app?
Yep, spelled GRYD Park. And you know what else?
There's more?
Our listeners get their first park free with the code FIRSTPARK.
Wow, so they just download the Grid Park app and pre-book their next game day spot for free?
Yeah, you got it, Ez. Promo code FIRSTPARK. Only on the Grid Park app.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Sunday evening, welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Wanted to make mention, of course, that the game recap was brought to you by Betway. Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. Talking about the Jets, another defeat at the hands of the New York Rangers in tonight's instance. Tampa Bay Lightning in town on Tuesday night to face the Jets. The Lightning, of course, were winners tonight, doubling up the Chicago Blackhawks by a 6-3 margin. So as we mentioned, things don't get any easier on Tuesday night when the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions come to town to face the Jets. Couple interesting quotes. Nikolai Ehlers was before the microphone post-game tonight. Here's some of his comments, courtesy Mike McIntyre. Quote, "The mood is shitty." Quote, further quote, "There's no excuses. We've got to win some games." Well, I can understand why the mood would be shitty. And yes, I agree that they've got to win some games. The question is, how do they dig out of that? How do they change their mood when it's been like that really for the bulk of the year. It's amazing to think, guys. It's sort of comical to think that at one point in time, 15 games into the season, this team was somehow 9-3-3, and compare them to where they are today with tonight's defeat. I mean, it's just amazing that how much of a bottom feeder in the league they truly have become since that 9-3-3 start. It's almost like a whole other world when that success was happening for this team.
It really is. And Nikolai Ehlers' comments, it's almost like they were the same comments from Pierre-Luc Dubois a week ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
it's just, it's a very, demoralized group. It's a group that I think knows they have a lot of talent in the room, and they obviously want to win, but they're just not showing it on the ice with, their play. Like, I think Nikolai Ehlers has been fantastic in his first 2 games back. We talked about, the Dubois, Connor Svechnikov line, but the Scheifele, Stastny, Wheeler line just wasn't good enough tonight. They didn't elevate their game against a top East team. And that's why, in the comments, you can see a lot of people are, talking about Ehlers being moved up into the lineup, Dave. Like, I think for sure Ehlers is going to be, back in the quote unquote top 6. It's not really clear right now, where he would fit, but I mean, the obvious one would be, on the Scheifele line, because Dubois, Connor Svechnikov, I mean, you'd be crazy, I think, to break that lineup at this point. It's got the most chemistry out of any line, right? So I would expect Ehlers to go back on the Scheifele line. And I mean, right now, guys, the playoff chances are so slim. And I realize a lot of people have already thrown in the towel on this season. But I mean, when you listen to the players after the game, I mean, they know that, this is not looking good, right? Like, we all know the chances. I mean, it's really dire right now for the Jets to leapfrog all these teams, right? Like, do you really think that the Jets are going to leapfrog, Dallas and Edmonton and Vancouver and Anaheim? Like, all
those
LA
teams are playing better hockey than they are. I mean,
Right.
it's that simple. It's not like, the Jets are playing good hockey and not getting results, Dave. All the teams ahead of the Jets are just playing better hockey than the Jets are. I mean, you're not going to get results playing the way that you're playing. It's just the reality of the situation. I mean, you got a goaltender who I just don't know. I just don't understand how they can't see that he's exhausted, that he's played too much hockey. It's apparent to everybody. And I know that, in their mindset, they think that they only can win with Connor Hellebuyck. It's been proven, of course, that Eric Comrie can win because he's done it on numerous occasions this year. But they
six to be precise.
6 to be precise. They think they can only win with Hellebuyck, but the Hellebuyck that they're getting, because they're playing him too much, doesn't give you a good enough chance to win.
I think you could see Comrie on Tuesday night, Drew. I really do. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I mean, you've got the back-to-back in New York, right? Against the Islanders and the Devils. Same thing. I mean, New Jersey, New York. Just kidding. But why not go with Comrie, right? Like, the Jets are in the middle of 7 games in 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is the time now where you have to start using Comrie more. Not 2 weeks from now. Now. So, if I'm Dave Lowry and Wade Flaherty and the coaching staff, I think, Dave, I'm really considering that, starting Comrie now, knowing that you're going to need him most likely against the Devils as well.
Yeah, and as you and I were talking about that on Saturday when we were doing the Legal Hockey Show, at least you and I were talking about it during the break about the idea of getting Eric Comrie some more starts. Look, he's been good when you've needed him to play. He's won 4 games in a row for your hockey club, right? He's put the points in the standing bank when you needed him to. So,
well, that's why I think. Sorry, Dave. I was just going to say, when Drew, mentions, the Jets, only think they can win with Hellebuyck, I think that's asinine, right? Like, Comrie has exceeded. You want to talk about players that have exceeded expectations? Pierre-Luc Dubois, Kyle Connor. I mean, those guys are right up there. To me, Eric Comrie might be at the top of that list. I mean, he has been everything that you need in a backup. He just hasn't played that much.
That's right. And said for the record, some of that is circumstantial, right? We obviously had to deal with COVID situation and that sort of thing and the traveling. So there was that period of time, but the Jets didn't even show any interest in giving Mikhail Burden, who again hadn't been playing amazing for the Moose, but the reality was they just kept riding, right? We remember that game when they went back to back with Hellebuyck. They started him. We didn't think they would on Sunday in Pittsburgh, and yet they did, and turned to be okay. But the reality was, you didn't know that that's what they were going to do. So the Jets have shown that they're not afraid to continue to ride Connor Hellebuyck. But I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's a mistake. I think that they're they're missing opportunities. And I understand tonight was another must-win game, but you didn't get the win, and then you set yourself up for Tuesday. I mean, how is this homestand going to look? If you get 3 out of 8 points, it's not going to look very good for this club. So, I mean, you can flip it a little bit. You can make yourself feel good if you can eke out a win against the Tampa Bay Lightning on Tuesday. But, you're going against the Islanders, the Devils. You've got that, how long is the road trip again? Is it a 4-game road trip that they're going on?
They go to the New York, New Jersey. Who do they come back? Where are they? Do they have St. Louis on that road trip?
Yeah, they do have St. Louis. There is a St. Louis game. I think it's
Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday. Is that
I
what
think
the road trip is? Something like that.
Yeah, so I
think it's St. Louis on that Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is St. Louis on Sunday, and I don't remember who. But the truth is, like I said, we talked about this. You're playing almost every second game. Connor Hellebuyck clearly doesn't look fresh. And again, this is
just a 3-game road trip.
Okay,
so New Jersey,
you've got
New York,
Vegas back at home on Tuesday, Dave.
Okay, that's right. So the truth is, like we've talked about, you need to get Connor Hellebuyck rested. You need to get Eric Comrie. Eric Comrie's been capable. Get him into some games, let him play. And then, like I said, it doesn't look good for the Jets club, but at least you can do something to make Connor Hellebuyck a little bit fresher potentially and give Eric Comrie, because as of right now, you could maybe be thinking Mikkel Burton might be your goaltender for the next, the backup Connor Hellebuyck next season, but it could very easily be Eric Comrie. So wouldn't you want to give him another, 4 to 6 starts to see what his 15 games? Because remember, that's what we talked about, right? You want your backup to play 15 to maybe 20, but not really with Connor Hellebuyck, but 15 games and counting. Well, you've got to give Eric Comrie that chance, because then you at least have a decent sample size of work. I mean, he's already played more games this year in his 10 with 9 starts than he had in his entire career to this point in the NHL. So you're getting a body of work that you can judge Eric Comrie on of significance, I think. But like I said, I think you need to get him some more starts, because you need to figure out what is your plan for next year in terms of a backup goaltender.
And the comment is up there, Kenny's water bottle, right? Like, I think he's right. I mean, usually the mantra is, right? Like, I remember when we used to have Trevor Kidd on regularly on TSN 1290, we'd always talk about, Hellebuyck and whoever the backup, happened to be at that point, Lauren Brossoit or, Al Montoya, whoever before then, right? Mm-hmm. And he would always say, like, you play the goalie that gives you the best chance to win. Very simple, but it's true. Right now, it's actually not clear if Hellebuyck, I mean, obviously Hellebuck's the best goalie, but the way he's playing right now is the point. And I think the way Comrie is played in limited action, you can make the argument that Comrie might give you a better chance to win. It seems crazy to say that and realize some people might disagree with that. That's fine. People can disagree with us. But I think you have to reward Comrie not only for the way he's played, but recognize that, Hellebuyck is struggling right now. Like, we're not blaming this game on Hellebuyck, but what has Hellebuyck done right now, aside from obviously, being a Vezina Trophy winner and a top goalie in the league for the last 5 or 6 years? But, I guess why not play Comrie at this point?
It's a disservice to Hellebuyck as much as it is to the team to continue to play him in the circumstances that they're playing him. He just needs a rest. And, the whole team needs something to... we're not talking about benching Connor Hellebuyck. Don't get us wrong. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck is still by far the number 1 goaltender on this team, but they just need a break. He needs a break.
Yes.
The team, when they play, oftentimes, I've said this many times on this show, when you start your backup, it almost requires your whole team to have a different approach and a different focus to the game. So, you might even be benefiting the entire roster by playing the backup, on Tuesday night, or playing the backup a little more often.
That applies specifically more to the Jets this season, because if you have, a 1A, 1B, I think that applies less, right? You would agree, right? Because, you have a goalie share situation. So I think especially when you have a goalie who only plays, 10 to 15% of the games, whatever it is, probably less than that this year. But I think, that applies. And obviously, the Jets, it's not like they play a completely different brand of hockey, but, we've seen it. Dave just mentioned it. Comrie's won his last 4 starts. The game against St. Louis is the one that stands out to me, where the Jets almost played a flawless defensive game against a good team, right? So Hellebuyck might play Tuesday night versus Tampa Bay, but I think based on, the way he has played, not just tonight, but, for the last several weeks, and considering how much he's played this year, that's all I was saying. Maybe, the coaching staff is going to play Comrie But maybe because we expect Comrie to play against the Devils, maybe the plan is Hellebuyck plays Tuesday and then he gets the Friday game against the Islanders.
Ezzy, hardest hitting comment tonight. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I sent it to you there in the private chat, Drew. We're going to give it to Jerry Brown. Was from about 15 minutes ago. Let's get serious. You've got it up there, Drew. If the Jets had won the game and been outshot by double, Hellebuyck would have been hailed the savior. Rangers are a good team, but they were outplayed tonight. It goes back to what we were just talking about, right? Like Hellebuyck didn't face a lot of rubber tonight. And, on a few of the goals, especially, the Chris Kreider breakaway goal, which was the game-winning goal. Was that the game-winning goal or was that the second goal? No, that was the game winner in the third period. You would say that Hellebuyck maybe, should have been a little bit more aggressive or, executed the poke check a little bit better. But overall, I didn't think that was the reason the Jets lost this game. It was because they didn't capitalize on those power play opportunities earlier in the game and just, didn't make life hard enough for Shesterkin. I really didn't think that, they put enough of those high danger chances. So send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com. Send me your mailing address, or you can send me a DM on Twitter, and Tough Talk will ship out a toque to you.
There you go. Congratulations to Jerry Brown, tonight's winner of the Tough Talk hardest hitting comment for that doozy that's on the screen. There's a good reason to keep coming back to the post-game shows throughout the rest of the regular season. You might win some toque from our friends at Tough Talk. You also maybe, could win some tickets to go see a good hockey team playing here in Winnipeg. That is the Manitoba Moose, which leads us seamlessly into the moment you've all been waiting for. Here it comes. Get ready.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minuk Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I'm always worried about that moose. I always think does it have a cough? Is that the reason why it sounds so congested? Anyways, getting to the moose talk, if
That's
you will.
just actually Ezzy snoring auto-tuned a little bit is what that is. It's not a real moose call.
Well, let me tell you, you and I have been subjected to Ezzy's snoring, so we know that is probably not that sounds actually rather pleasurable compared to what we've heard Ezzy make some sounds in the middle of the night. So the Moose were in action again on Sunday. Drew, you were in attendance. You had nice seats right by the glass watching the game. It was the autism acceptance game. Pretty awesome jerseys that the Moose wore in conjunction with St. Amant here in Winnipeg, raising money, raising awareness for that charity. So
are they auctioning those off?
They will auction. Yeah, they will auction them off.
And they have some great, if you don't want to buy a full jersey, they have some great, if you have
teddy bears or whatever.
Yeah, little stuffed moose that my kids hooked me to buy 2 of them. Again, all proceeds go to St. Amant Center, so it's going to a good cause at least. But we got a couple of those stuffed moose now in our house.
Did you get another free piece of pizza, Drew?
I didn't get any pizza. I wasn't hungry. But
he did get stopped though while wearing his.
Hold on. Did Drew say he wasn't hungry?
We just come from a birthday party. I had pizza at the birthday party, but I was wearing our IC hoodie, and some people called me over and said, "Where'd you get that hoodie? Where'd you get the IC hoodie?" And I said,
and then they stole the hoodie.
No, that's no. And then I said it's on the website. So you, of course, if you haven't got your IC merchandise yet, if you haven't, picked up a nice IC hoodie, we wish John Warkington a happy 94th birthday on Saturday morning show, or was it Friday's post game, whatever it was. John got some IC gear for his birthday. So if you haven't got any IC merchandise, all the information is now on the bottom of the screen, and you can check it out on our website, illegalcurve.com. Dave, continue with the Moose Minute.
Okay, but I do just want to say how enjoyable it was. I saw the message that John's daughter sent you, Drew. So that was pretty awesome to see his reaction, how excited he was from the birthday shout out. So nice play by you.
Yeah.
Look, the Moose were coming into Sunday's action, having won big on Thursday and looking for the series sweep against the Ice Hogs, a team they hadn't really played much and hadn't seen in Winnipeg in over 2 years. Kind of like the way the Jets hadn't seen the Rangers tonight in over 2 years since the last time they were here in Winnipeg, but didn't start off very well. They Moose are, Mikkel Burden doesn't seem to be 100% right now. I mean, I know that head coach Mark Morrison had said they were managing his gameplay, which is why he wasn't backing up Arvid Holm the other day. But he's not 100% sound, I don't think, right now. I mean, he gave up 2 goals early in the contest. So, they spotted the Rockford Ice Hogs, a 2-goal lead. Eventually that started to get chipped away. Greg Morales, who's looked very good in his first full season with the Manitoba Moose, in the AHL, I should say. He's up to 22 assists. He set up CJC's to cut the lead in half to make it a 2-1 game. And then the Ice Hogs took back the lead early in the second period. They made it a 3-1 game. And then you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, again, it's not easy to win, to sweep a series, but this Moose team, unlike the Jets, they just don't have quit in their game. They really don't. And David Gustafsson got things started with a couple of minutes to go in the second period on the power play, turned and shot. Declan Chisholm found him from the wall, and Gustafsson just made no mistake. He scored his 10th goal of the season to make it 3-2. And then Johnny Kovacevic, about 42 seconds after that, he ties the game with kind of a floater. Nice play by Cole Meyer to win the faceoff. So the Moose, you kind of felt like the game was turning a little bit. And then early in that third period, Jeff Malone scores his 15th goal. That's a career high for him. He's a guy who I would expect him to get a look with the Jets, maybe if the season continues to go the way it's going, because he signed to that 1-year NHL deal with Winnipeg last summer. He's a big boy, about 6'4", goes to the inner slot. So he's a guy I would think you'd want to get a look at in the NHL. In the NHL, and we'll see what happens there. The assist went to Austin Baganski. Big move for him, for the Jets, Moose, to get him back in the lineup after he cleared waivers. And then Baganski scored on what was an absolutely spectacular play by Ville Heinola, who took the puck, went around, and then finally kind of cut towards the Ice Hogs net, fired on net, and Baganski got a tip on it. So made it 5-1, and that's how they were able to close it out. So a really good game for Manitoba, and they just, like I said, this team has been ridiculous at home. That win made them 18-6-0-1 at Canada Life. And the incredible part is they've actually lost. This is a 9-game homestand. They've now played 7. They've actually lost 3 games in a row on this homestand. So in theory, their record would be even more significant. Overall, they're 29-17, 2-1. They are sitting very high in the AHL standings. So like I've been saying to people for a long time, it seems to become more and more of a reality. But this Moose team is a team you're going to be able to watch, I suspect, going for a Calder Cup, or at least challenging. Look, the Wolves are a very good team, so wouldn't discount them. They're significantly ahead of the Moose in terms of winning, not significantly, but they're ahead of the Moose in terms of a winning percentage. But if the season goes off the rails, and what'll be very interesting in 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks when the trade deadline happens is, and as I'm sure a lot of people in the chat know, you have to have those players on the roster, even if it's just a paper transaction, in order for them to be eligible for the Calder Cup finals, or playoffs, I should say. So what'll be very interesting to me is if they do those paper transactions, who are they going to do? Cole Perfetti, Christian Reichel, and even Christian Vesalainen. I know some people question me. He's waiver exempt, so I don't see why you wouldn't at least make him eligible to play in the playoffs, because I think it can go a long way for him if he can get that experience. I don't see why you'd send these guys home to start their summer. Makes no sense versus playing meaningful hockey. So, and just think about that. You've already got a Moose team that was defensively responsible. Goaltending hasn't probably been their biggest area of concern, and now their forwards are at the point where you've got a lot of good guys who can score, and you're in theory going to add Cole Perfetti, you could add Christian Reichel, and you could add Christian Vesalainen. So I know Christian Vesalainen hasn't been doing a lot at the NHL level. He can do some things at the AHL level. So I think from a development perspective, and we've talked about this with the guys like Craig Button and whomever, this could go a long way for a lot of these draft picks who are potentially going to have an integral role with the Winnipeg Jets in the next year or two.
There you have it.
Great Manuk Moose Minute, Dave. Now, the question I wanted to ask you is, some people might be wondering if Lucas Reichel is Christian Reichel's brother. It's his cousin.
Correct.
So you mentioned the trade deadline. So how do the Moose, maybe get another Reichel in the mix here? I'm obviously joking, but he's leading the Ice Hogs in scoring. He's a good player.
Like you said, Dave, I was right behind the Ice Hogs bench, and it's very entertaining being right behind the bench. Especially they were upset.
Someone's doing well.
Thank you. They were upset at one of the Moose goals. I think it was I can't remember if it was the second or the third goal.
No, I think it was the Kovacevic. It was Kovacevic's goal. They thought it was a high stick.
They were very vocal about thinking it was a high stick. Yeah. And you're behind the bench, and the coach is screaming at the ref, high stick, and maybe it's just me, but I'm like, no, it was a good goal. It was a good goal. You're wrong, coach. You're wrong. I always wonder what they can hear. I'm pretty sure they can't hear me and then my kids are getting into it with me because there, I'm teaching my kids good manners at a very nice young age. They're like, no, it was a good goal. It was a good goal, coach. It was a good goal. Anyways, it was a really fun time. We had a real nice time at the Moose game on Sunday. If you're looking for something to do, folks, you don't have to. You can take it from me if you don't believe Dave M with the Manuke Moose Minute. This is the
we have tickets to give away, right? So you listen to the Illegal Curve post game show, the Saturday Illegal Curve hockey show, and you could possibly win some tickets. That's what we do here. We hook you guys up.
That's exactly right.
I'm looking right now because we do know that there is a weekend series coming up against Belleville. And look at this. Well, I'm not going to show you my account number, but look at this. Oh, I've already given away those tickets. Sorry, folks. Those 4 tickets are gonzo. So they will not be the Belleville series. You'll have to wait.
Thanks for those tickets, by the way, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know who I sent them to, actually. Let me see. Oh, I remember. It's one of our subscribers. That's okay. I do know who it is, but we'll see. Actually, I've got more some tickets that were not claimed because of earlier postponed ones. So I may be able to get some more for the Belleville series. We'll see if I can get some more. If I can, we'll hook up some more people in the chat. I know people were messaging me and wanted to go to the game, and why wouldn't you, right? It's exciting hockey, prospects. Well, it's good time. So, and these seats are incredible, as Drew can attest.
They are fantastic seats. There's no question about it. Anyways, good Manuke Moose Minute, Dave. The Jets, not so good. 4-1 defeat to the New York Rangers in tonight's contest. At least the Moose victorious, and they give you something that we can end on a positive note on for tonight's post-game show. We can also end on a positive note by thanking our sponsors, the people who make this show, who make the Saturday show, they make the website, all a possibility. Those are our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Bernstein's Deli, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, and Grid Park support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. We're next in action Tuesday night. A busy week ahead of us. Tuesday night against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Join us right around 9:30, 9:45, give or take a couple minutes for the post-game show after the Jets and the Lightning. And we'll also, of course, have post-game shows on Thursday and Friday and Sunday as the Jets embark on that 3-game road trip. So, as always, there's only one place you need to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game and on Saturday mornings for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's here on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends, tell your family members. The best place to be is here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. For Dave Manuke, for Ezra Ginsburg, we thank everybody for joining us. Another great night in the chat. Some very entertaining comments and everything else. We'll be back Tuesday night. We hope you'll join us as well. Until then, for Dave M, for Ezzy G, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks for watching. Good night and good luck. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.